This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Welcome to the program. Palestinian Fatah leaders regroup and move quickly to replace a unity government dissolved in the face of a military takeover in Gaza. In Gaza, hundreds rallied to mark the military victory of Hamas.
Well, for the 1.5 million Palestinians in Gaza, the days ahead look somewhat uncertain. The region and the world looks increasingly like it's going to isolate Hamas, while Hanniyeh refuses to cede power and is vowing to stay in control.
We begin our coverage with Noor Alde, who was out on the streets of Gaza earlier.
This is one of several Palestinian Authority security compounds that fell in the hands of the military wing of the Hamas movements during fierce battles on Thursday. Those battles left over 120 Palestinians dead and hundreds others injured. This leveled building also stands testament to the reality Palestinians in the Gaza Strip woke up to. 1.4 million of mostly impoverished Palestinians now sealed off from the rest of the world. Many questions that remain to be answered. Who will take control of the Gaza Strip? Who will facilitate daily life for the residents of the Gaza Strip? And who will be able to bring in food and medical supplies and fuel to those residents now that the entire Gaza Strip has been sealed off from the rest of the world and from Israel? Many questions and very few answers as Gazans venture out into the streets of the Gaza Strip to try to see the new uncertain reality that has started today, this Friday. Noor Alde, Al Jazeera, Gaza City.
Now, to give us more of a picture of the difficulties for Palestinians needing help in Gaza, we have an aid worker on the line. She works for an international aid agency, but for security reasons, we can't say which one. And she has asked that we only use her first name, Elena. Elena, thanks very much for joining us in these difficult circumstances. What sort of situations have you been witnessing in the past few days, and how bad would you say the humanitarian situation is?
Well, I am in a strategic place because I am in the center between the office of the president and near to his house. So I have slowly then taken over of Hamas, of the Fatah bases. But of course, it would be meaningless if we did not know that it's the people who are not in the streets right now who are suffering, because it's been locked already for around 3 days, the strip. And you know, it's a very small space. It's 12 kilometers by 6 kilometers. And with the amount of people that we have here, and if there is not going to be any food or money to buy food, the humanitarian situation will be very, very difficult.
Elena, how would you say that Palestinians living in Gaza have been coping with what's been unfolding violently on their doorsteps?
It's been very painful for them because many have lost members of their family. Sometimes you just send a child to try to get food from a neighbor and the child gets killed on the way. There is a great uncertainty. I don't think the people are happy or sad about Hamas or Fatah. At this point, it's not a matter of who wins. Obviously, now we have Hamas. But I don't think the ruling party is the relevant thing. It is what is going to happen to all these people that are caught in the midst of it.
Elena, given the changes that have taken place, how difficult will it be to get aid into Gaza?
Well, it is obvious that if Israel remains closed, it will be absolutely impossible to get aid into Gaza.
Elena,
87% of the people here are living from help from the United Nations. They do not have money to buy food.
Elena, thank you very much for joining us there with your comments, and especially in these difficult circumstances. Thank you very much for your time.
A very dire picture being painted there. Well, earlier Hanniyeh rejected President Mahmoud Abbas's move to sack him as Prime Minister. But Hanniyeh is calling upon Hamas supporters to maintain calm.
We call upon all Palestinian people to show calm and self-restraint and not to take any action which contradicts the morals of the Palestinian people against houses, compounds and ministries. We must provide full security to all of these properties.
Our correspondent Walid Batrawi has been monitoring the political developments in Ramallah and joins us from there now. Walid, how will this decision regarding the Prime Minister affect things on the ground?
Well, the nomination of Salam Fayyad as the new Prime Minister, he has now to consult with the different political parties to form this government that may be formed from 9 ministers only to manage the life of the Palestinians for the coming 3 days. That is the period of the state of emergency. On the ground, it would be difficult for Salam Fayyad to maintain security in the Gaza Strip, but also here in the West Bank, things have been quiet, and although Palestinians, and we have seen the Fatah military wing having some troubles and problems over in the West Bank, especially the killing of one Hamas member in Nablus and storming some of the buildings for Hamas in the West Bank. This was as a result of the killing of one Fatah member in the Gaza Strip. The situation here on the ground is quiet, and now it's for the new government to manage the lives of the Palestinians over the coming few days.
And Walid, we know that Hamas has already said no to the emergency government. Are we effectively talking about 2 different governing bodies now?
Well, in fact, this could be the situation in Gaza. The government, of course, what remains of the unity government, maybe Hamas members only in Gaza having to function the situation there. And here in the West Bank, of course, the Palestinian president was elected by the majority of the Palestinians. So he is the president of the Palestinians. And this is the picture that he sees, that, this new government that would be formed is the government of the Palestinian people, although Hamas disagrees with this and insists that the unity government is the government that will run the situation. But in fact, and on the ground, of course, we're seeing 2 different governments.
Walid, for that update, thank you for joining us from Ramallah.
Well, the Gaza crisis has prompted Fatah to step up its hold on the other Palestinian territory, of course, the West Bank. It's there that President Mahmoud Abbas has appointed a new Prime Minister.
But the new leadership faces an enormous challenge: how to guarantee security and spare the Palestinian people from further hardship. Al Jazeera's Jackie Rowland reports from Ramallah.
Riding shotgun through the streets of Ramallah. But don't be confused by the masks. These men are from the official Palestinian security forces. They're sending a not-so-subtle message that the West Bank, at least, is still in the hands of President Mahmoud Abbas and his Fatah movement.
The state of emergency is allowing Fatah to consolidate its grip on the West Bank. But as far as Gaza is concerned, it's meaningless. There's now a total disconnect between the 2 territories, and Fatah needs to accept that Gaza is lost.
أطلق مسلحو حركة حماس سراح 10 قيادات أمنية.
Hamas, now in apparent full control of Gaza, declared clemency for all Fatah members and security forces on Friday, releasing 10 senior officials that had been detained for hours. In Gaza, thousands of Hamas supporters came out in celebration of Hamas's takeover of security forces buildings previously belonging to Fatah, chanting slogans in support of Hamas and its leadership.
يأتي ذلك بعد يوم من بسط مسلحي حماس سيطرتهم الكاملة على غزة.
Meanwhile, resigned Prime Minister Ismail Hanniyeh called on the Palestinians to remain calm and to avoid destruction of public and private property. In a press release following prayers on Friday, Hanniyeh promised to implement safety in Gaza.
نحن نطالب كل أبناء شعبنا الفلسطيني إلى التحلي بالهدوء والتحلي بضبط
We ask all the Palestinians to remain calm and to exercise self-restraint. Let us refrain from any practices that do not represent Palestinian values. We must safeguard headquarters, ministries, properties, and homes. We have to accomplish security, and the Palestinian people must take this opportunity to show their true nature, which stems out of our values, norms, and religion. I think Palestinians will soon notice an improvement in the establishment of security through the implementation of several upcoming steps.
الإجراءات التي ستتخذ من أي موقع كان سيشهد الشارع الفلسطيني أن هناك تغيرا ملحوظا على أمنه الشخصي.
As a reaction to the incidents in Gaza, armed men burned down businesses and offices belonging to Hamas and its supporters in the cities of Jenin, Tul Al-Qam and Nablus. As a result, the national security forces and security agencies were dispersed throughout the West Bank. This comes after the Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, declared a state of emergency in the Palestinian territories and as a series of arrests of Hamas activists continues. Meanwhile, the Palestinian president is holding talks in Ramallah with the leadership of Fatah and representatives from different factions of the PLO to form a new government.
Ramallah spent the night in burning anticipation after the dissolution of the National Unity Government was announced. Fatah gunmen killed a Hamas member and seized several others in Nablus and Jenin. The political situation is on hold until the President, Mahmoud Abbas, names the emergency government, which is unlikely to be in the too near future. Reporting from Ramallah is our correspondent, Amani Abu Ghantash.
The Palestinian situation stands at a crossroads after the Palestinian president dissolved the National Unity Government and declared a state of emergency in the Palestinian territories, with plans to appoint an emergency government.
Based on our assigned privileges and in the interest of the public good, we have decided to dismiss the Prime Minister, Ismail Hanniyeh.
Hamas rejected these decisions, rendering the Palestinian situation to a state of unprecedented disunity.
I think that dissolving the government is a step backwards and a move in the wrong direction. It reinforces the concepts of disunity, infighting, and tension in the Palestinian arena.
Elation swept over the streets of Ramallah after the president's decision, while Hamas continued to control the security agencies and presidential buildings in Gaza. Actions continued to spark reactions between the two factions, where an activist from Hamas was killed in the city of Nablus. Meanwhile, we are left with the question of what's next.
The main problem has nothing to do with protocol, because it is easy enough to make legislation. However, it is harder to implement. The real danger, however, is that Hamas's venture in taking over Gaza may lead to the legitimization of the current reality. In other words, the breakdown of the Mecca Agreement to share political power might result in a geographical division of the homeland.
In the past, the fear was that the Palestinians were faced with a two-headed authority. Today, the fear is that they are faced with two separate authorities or two states, one in Gaza and the other in the West Bank. Amani Abu Ghantash, Dubai TV, occupied Ramallah.
Amani Abu Ghantash, Television Dubai, Ramallah al-Muhtalla.
The takeover of Gaza by Hamas has created a new status quo, resulting in a new division of power within government institutions, further isolating the Palestinian territories from one another.
The battle to get rid of the Palestinian Authority in Gaza has resulted in a new division of power within government institutions and increased the political isolation of the Palestinian territories from each other. No one knows how this power division will end or what will come out of Hamas's decision to defy presidential orders to dissolve the government and declare a state of emergency. Meanwhile, Ismail Hanniyeh announced that he is still the prime minister. The Hamas organization headed by Khalid Mish'al stands in opposition of the Fatah organization headed by President Mahmoud Abbas. Abbas established an emergency government in areas under the Palestinian Authority, but in reality, this government has control only in the West Bank. Ismail Hanniyeh announced that he still holds onto his position as the Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority, but in reality, he has influence only in Gaza. The emergency government will rely on the Palestinian Authority's official security agencies in the West Bank, while Hamas has used executive forces and Al-Qassam brigades. The West Bank consists of areas controlled by the Palestinian Authority and is separated by the presence of the Israeli army and settlements. However, the West Bank is recognized by neighboring countries including Israel and Jordan. Gaza has geographic continuity, but it has no relations with its neighboring countries including Israel and Egypt. The Palestinian nation, which does not have a country yet, has found itself with two separate territories and governments.
Gaza took central stage after the Islamic resistance, Hamas, announced that it has full control over it. This narrow coastal strip is one of the most impoverished areas in the Arab world. The following report sheds light on it.
Gaza is a narrow coastal strip located between Egypt and Israel. It is 45 kilometers long and ranges in width between 6 to 10 kilometers. Gaza is the most densely populated area in the world, with 26,500 Palestinians per 1 kilometer squared. The surface area of Gaza is 365 kilometers squared. More than 1.5 million Palestinians live in it, including 1 million refugees who fled their homes in 1948. The current geographic borders of Gaza were set according to the ceasefire agreement that was reached after the declaration of Israel in 1948. Egypt has administrated Gaza for 19 years between 1948 and 1967. Israel, however, occupied Gaza in 1967. In 2005, Israel withdrew its forces and also took out thousands of settlers from inside Gaza. Rafah crossing point is the only link that Gaza has to the outside world. It is not under direct Israeli control. Rather, it is administrated by European observers according to a special arrangement agreed upon by Israel. The Rafah crossing point is opened for individuals and for the transportation of merchandise into Gaza, but not out of it. Merchandise can officially be transported in and out of Gaza via Egypt through Kerem Shalom crossing point, and from Israel to Gaza through Karneh crossing point, which is under the Israeli army's control. The main crossing point for people between Gaza and Israel is Erez checkpoint in northern Gaza. Haytham bin Hussein, Al-Arabiya.
Haytham bin Hussein, Al-Arabiya.
An official from the Foreign Ministry said that Syria strongly condemns the criminal explosion, which killed MP Walid Eido and others. It also condemns all action that sabotages the security and stability of Lebanon. In a statement to Sana News, Syria strongly denounced this crime and all that destabilizes Lebanon, and it condemned the campaign of lies by some Lebanese, who habitually accuse Syria of responsibility after any crime and before any investigation has even started. These unfounded accusations indicate the ugly exploitation of these crimes to carry out schemes that conflict with Lebanon's interests and its relations with Syria. The spokesman confirmed that these politically motivated accusations, without any evidential basis, have escalated political tensions, targeting dozens of Syrians working in Lebanon. The source said that those who exploit the crimes that have targeted Lebanese figures in a bid to hurl accusations at Syria are contributing to the work of those whose hands remain hidden and committed to conspiracy against Syria and Lebanon together. The source added that national Lebanese reconciliation and national unity is the only way to fortify Lebanon to enable it to confront enemy schemes and security deterioration, which is being instigated by invisible hands in Lebanon and is working against Lebanon's security and stability.
In Lebanon, Nahr al-Barid refugee camp witnessed relative calm as mourners grieved for Walid Eido.
The relative calm in the battlefield in the Nahr Barid refugee camp was dealt a surprise, especially in the morning with the coinciding assassination of the MP Walid Eido. His funeral was held amidst a flurry of speculation. The assassination came at a notable time when the popularity of the Future Party had been declining significantly after it was revealed that the Future Party played a role in supporting extremist groups, some of which have continued to clash with the Lebanese army for nearly a month, especially Fatah al-Islam and Jund Asham, although some officials of the Future Party deny this.
No doubt, the popularity of the Future Party and the power of the March 14th bloc have declined in light of the recent events and developments. I do not know whether this crime was committed as a result of this environment. However, this crime complicates efforts to find a needed resolution to this crisis. The United States has and continues to implement its constructive chaos policy, which began in Iraq in order to serve its Greater Middle East project. Thus, this crime has taken place in the framework of creating chaos or divisions in Lebanon in order to complicate and further escalate the crisis.
The Lebanese have another day amidst fears that have stirred in their minds and hearts after having experienced a dangerous escalation marked by the assassination of MP Walid Eido. There are no indications that the security situation will be resolved soon, despite the efforts being made, especially when considering the political occupation being imposed by the United States. Sana Alawiya, Syrian Arab TV, Lebanon. The head of the Public Relations Committee for Promoting the Enforcing the Law Security Plan, Ahmed Chalabi, visited Al-Mutanabi Street and promised that the street would be rebuilt according to the landlord's preferred designs. Our reporter Bilal Abeldamer provided us with the following report.
It has been 3 months since Al-Mutanabi Street was shaken by an explosion, but according to landlords, not much has been done to rebuild the street other than removing the rubble, despite promises by officials in charge of enforcing the law security plan.
After the explosion, all our businesses experienced a setback. A lot of people were martyred here. Many good people left. We heard a lot of promises from the government, but nothing has been done to the best of my knowledge. We feel that our wound is bleeding while the government is moving slowly. We feel that the government promises were only intended for publicity and to calm people down. So far, nothing practical has been done. The only thing that has been done so far is that the municipality has hired a contractor to remove the rubble.
Since the explosion, our business has stopped. All of our businesses were on this street. The traffic has been very slow, and there are no customers. We are isolated here.
A committee in charge of promoting the Enforcing the Law Security Plan, headed by Ahmed Chalabi, promised that the street will be rebuilt according to the landlord's preferred designs.
We must all work to bring life back to this vital and historical area of Baghdad. This building, which used to be a folkloric center, was damaged. It has also been subjected to thefts and sabotage, and we have to deal with that. I have talked with people whose shops in Al-Mutanabi streets were damaged. We will try to provide them with some compensation. We also asked them to form a committee through which they can express their opinion about their preferred designs to rebuild Al-Mutanabi Street. We have a financial fund that has been allocated for this purpose. The reconstruction will start as soon as the designs are selected.
لشارع المتنبي وهناك مبلغ مرصود وسيجري اختيار التصميم لتتم المباشرة بالعمل.
This historical street is a symbol of Baghdad's civilization, which explains why it is very important to rebuild it in a way that preserves its character. Bilal Abdelamir, Alsumaria Channel.
Hamas takes control of Gaza and President Abbas sacks his prime minister. Is this coup d'etat? And what happens with the two-state solution? These stories and more on Link TV's Mosaic Intelligence Report.
The Gaza Strip was quiet today for the first time in more than a week. Hamas fighters consolidated their control of Gaza early today. They occupied the presidential compound in Gaza City and arrested Palestinian Authority security officials. President Mahmoud Abbas sacked his Prime Minister Ismail Hanniyeh and replaced him with his finance minister. Hanniyeh refuses to step down.
If they have an ounce of national loyalty and responsibility, they would let our people live free. We suffered enough from the Nakba and Israel. We continue to suffer from this internal fighting between Palestinian factions and organizations.
What happened in Gaza has been attributed to a coup d'etat, the spread of radical Islam in the Middle East, and by some, to the work of Al-Qaeda. But none of these theories is correct. A government cannot effect a coup d'etat on its own government. Though Hamas won elections in January 2006, its efforts to govern have been stymied by international sanctions against the Palestinian government and a crippling Israeli siege. On the other hand, Fatah, instead of responding to its electoral loss by bringing a new leadership and weaning itself away from corruption, has spent its time conspiring to overthrow Hamas. Hamas was denied its legitimate electoral victory and was not allowed to govern. Now it has won a military victory with bullets. Interestingly, since the battles with Fatah, Hamas has been careful not to provoke the Israelis. Rocket attacks in southern Israel have almost ceased. Hamas has also ordered the militias that kidnapped BBC correspondent Alan Johnston to hand him over, a possible first step towards his release. Meanwhile, there are talks that Hamas has been negotiating with the Israelis about freeing its kidnapped soldier Gilad Shalit. Israeli pragmatists in the country's intelligence circles have started to propose the unspeakable, that Israel may have no choice but to deal with the new lords of Gaza.
We are the leaders of the largest two factions. None of you have the authority in Palestine to open fire on your brothers like you have claimed.
Today, the Palestinian territories are effectively split in two. Gaza is now controlled by Hamas, which has close ties to Syria and Iran. The West Bank is dominated by Fatah, which has ties to Israel and the West. For several years, we have been hearing about George W. Bush's vision of a two-state solution, an Israel and a Palestinian state living side by side. The new reality on the ground is that we have three states on historic Palestine: a Hamas-run state in Gaza, a Fatah-run state in the West Bank, and Israel in between.
They make a deal, and after 5 minutes, it's not like nothing happened, broken, you know what? They make a deal, it's like 6 times, 10 times they do it. We don't believe them now, you know what I'm saying?
I'm Jamal Dajani for the Mosaic Intelligence Report. To learn more about this program or to send us your thoughts, visit us at linktv.org/mosaic.
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation, the Otto Haas Charitable Trust, and by committed Link TV viewers like you. If you value this program, please send your tax-deductible contribution to Link TV, either through the website or the mailing address listed on your screen. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.